Welcome to Watercolour Splashes. I'm Lorraine Brown and my artist life is all about watercolour. There is never just one way to paint. In Watercolour Splashes I will show you what works for me, with tips, techniques and experiments that you can try for yourself. Be inspired. Let's watercolour splash. If you're like me, there's nothing nicer than to go to an art shop and find some new tubes of paint. But when you go to buy them, you never know whether you're buying something that is warm or cool, unless they've got a very, very good colour chart there that explains all of that. So sometimes we just buy something because we like the look of the tube, the colour. We think, well, we don't have that and we bring it home. When you get a new tube of paint and you're going to perhaps put it in your palette of colours that you use all the time, you need to have done some practice with it so you can see where it fits in your range of colours as to whether it's warm or cool. Now you could get two cool colours next to each other and one will always look warmer than the other, so it's always relative. But if you get a cool blue, say, and a warm blue, it's a choice of each. But as I'm saying, you could have two cools, you could have two warms, but each of them would be in perspective to the other. Now that sounds awfully gobbledygook. When I first was painting, I just painted merrily away. I didn't really understand colour theory all that much. I did a little course on it and gradually the penny dropped with me. What I do now is when I make my colour choices before I start a painting, I think about what type of greens I might want, or purples or oranges, and make sure that I choose the right warm or cool colours to give me a good secondary colour. Today I'm just going to talk about purples and I'll show you how I go about doing this. Nobody likes sitting and doing colour theory, but if you just do it a little bit at a time, especially before you start doing a painting, you're going to save yourself a lot of money in colours. Wastage, that is. We'll never save ourselves money in colours because we're always going to go out and buy lots. When I come home with colours, I have separate containers. So for my reds I have two, for my blues I have two, for my yellows I have two, and I try to make sure I put them back in the right one here. So one is warm, one is cool. One is warm, one is cool. And then if I'm going to introduce a new colour that I don't have regularly in my palette here, and I know I want it to be warm or cool, I know I've only got to go to one of these containers here. I think my blues here are actually quite mixed up, so they do need a little bit of sorting, but that's a job for another day. So let's have a little look here about mixing purples. Now, when we talk about making a purple, there's lots of ranges of purple, and you can see if you come round here on the colour wheel, the purple gets warmer, and as you come round here, the purple gets cooler. Now, if you want to mix a really, really lovely bright purple, you need to know whether you need a cool blue or a warm blue, and a cool red or a warm red. But if you just want to mix a nice purple that doesn't have to be bright, it's just a, shall we say, less saturated purple. It doesn't really matter what the mix is, but if you need it to be bright in the first place, you need to know how to mix it, because there's no getting back to bright once you've already made it dull. So let's have a look here. First of all, I'll put a couple of colour swatches out. So I've not got names on these because everybody's going to have something different when they try and do their colour mixing. But I know that this blue here is a cool blue. Then I'm going to pick a warm blue. Happens to be ultramarine. Probably most people have got ultramarine. And there's the warm blue. Can you tell which is warm and which is cool? Some people can't. I can now, simply because I've painted hundreds and hundreds of paintings. I know which one I'm dipping into. But for those of you that haven't done dozens and dozens yet, sometimes it's a hard thing to know. But if you look at the colour wheel here, I turn this around here, and I look at the blue that is going closer to the warm side around here, it is a bit like that ultramarine. If I look at a blue that's here says cooler, it is going more around to the cooler green side here. So this is cool and this is warm. Now let's do the same with the reds for this colour testing. So I'm going to go for a cool red and I'm going to use permanent rose. Any sort of rose colour probably will do it. It's a pink basically. So there's their cool red. And let's pick a warm red. So I'm going to go with a nice bright, this is Scarlet Lake. But any warm red. If you're using cadmium colours, these need to be very, very thinned down and not be so opaque when you want to mix colours. But these are transparent colours. So let's have a little look at those compared to the colour wheel. If I look now round at the red side here, and I look for the cool one, which you think is going to be going round here, it's more going towards a red violet colour because it's coming round to the cool side of the colour wheel. The warm red sits close around to the oranges and yellow side, so that's why it's a warm red. I hope this will make some sense when you have time to digest it. But colour theory is one of those things that once you've got a handle on it, you stop wasting money, plus your paintings look really good because you don't have any mud in them. You know exactly what it is you're doing. Let's do some colour mixing for purple here, and you'll see as I do these why these choices are important. So my first little swatch here says put down a cool blue and put a cool red on it. So put the pink on the top. Ratios is another thing altogether. You might have to find you have to put a bit more of one. That blue is a very bossy colour and a little bit goes a long way. So there's one purple. Doesn't look particularly bright. Cool blue, cool red. Now we'll put the same blue down, cool blue. And this time I'm going to put a warm red into it. So this Scarlet Lake. So we get a purple out of that. Not a particularly nice looking purple. And I'll explain why in a moment. Now I'm going to put the warm blue down. And I'm going to put a warm red on it. You would think keep putting a blue and a red together, you're going to get purples. You're a purple of a sort, but they're very dull looking. Okay, and for our lucky last, we put the warm blue down. And into that, we're going to put a cool red. Get a bit more out. Might be a bit too much red. Let's put a wee bit more blue on it. Okay. So, out of all of these, they've all been mixed with the blue and they've been mixed with the red, but only one of them looks like a fresh purple. And the winner is this one here, which is a warm blue with a cool red. And the reasons are a warm blue and a cool red. When you look at the colour wheel here, when you want to get a nice fresh purple, if you're ever not sure of what the formula ought to be, if you look at a fresh purple and you go across on a colour wheel to it and it's got yellow there, we know that if we mix yellow and purple together in the middle here somewhere, it will grey down to sort of a really, really neutral colour. So if you want it to be bright, whatever you choose to make it up must never contain anything of its colour opposite. So if I had mixed it with the warm red, which is over on the yellow side, that has a dash of yellow in it. So that would dull down my purple. If I chose the cool blue round here, which is going to the yellow side, that has also got a dash of yellow in it. So that will dull down the purple. So the only way I'm going to get a fresh one is to make sure there's no yellow whatsoever. So stick to one that is nowhere going to have this bias of yellow in it. So that is going to be a warm blue round here, and it's going to be a cool red here. Okay, so that's how we're going to get those purples. Now you might say, well, does it really matter? Well, for some paintings it will never matter. You might be doing lots of landscape painting, you might be doing buildings, something that's got lots of dull unsaturated colour in there wouldn't make any difference. But if you had to have a really lovely purple and you didn't mix it properly in the first place, I'll give you an idea here. So I wanted to make some purple flowers and I chose the wrong blue and red to put together. And then I remembered which one it had to be, and I quickly try and fix it up. Yes, I can get back to being purple, but it's sullied, it's dirtied up, it's never going to be bright. So I can't fix it. If I did my painting and they all came out brilliantly beautiful looking purple, and it's too many good purple colours and I'd like to dull them down, yes, you can dull down, you just can't brighten up, because once you really effectively make mud, there's not a lot you can do about it. So I make a pretty purple and then I say, oh no, I really didn't want it to be as bright as that. So I've got all these purple flowers and I don't want them all to be that intense. All I've got to do is go to the other side of my colour wheel and pick something that's got a bit of yellow in it and I will dull it down. So I could just put a bit of this red on there that I know's got yellow in it because it's round here on the warm side, and I will dull that down. So now I've got that dulled down. This won't brighten up, so nothing is going to get me back to being a perfect bright purple. I wonder if this is going to make sense to you. It's a hard thing to explain. It's a lot easier to do it in practice. So what I suggest to you is that with your blues and reds, you try and get them so that you can put the cool ones together and the warm ones together and give them a little bit of a play to see what it is you get. Now, I don't have many choices of blues in here to choose from to do another experiment, but I'm just going to pick something out from this lucky dip box here, and something I hardly ever use. Let's have a, oh, can't get the lid off that one. Hardly ever use. This is Antwerp blue. So I don't know where this sits, but I'll be able to tell if I did a bit of colour testing. So that's a very old tube. So here it is, Antwerp blue. What's it going to look like if I mix it with, put two lots down, what's that going to look like when I mix it with a warm red or a cool red? So here's a warm red. Well, the warm red would dull it down, but what an interesting colour. If you were painting plums or something like that, that would be brilliant. And let's put the cool red on there. That's quite a nice looking purple. So that might be telling me that's leaning a bit towards the warm side. Yet when I look at it in my palette here, I wouldn't have said it was. So this is where just understanding what it is that you're going to get makes all the difference, because if you had already committed some of this to your painting, there's sort of like no going back once you've made a bit of mess. Let's have a look. This is Prussian blue. You can tell I don't use these very much. Sometimes they don't even want to come out of the tube. Right, Prussian blue. Wow, it doesn't look a lot different to that Antwerp. So there's one Prussian blue. Another Prussian blue. Let's put the cool here. Wow, now I do love that. This is really good because I'm about to do a painting that's got purple in it. I'm thinking if I had that, I'd be very, very happy. Let's put this one over here. Whoa, that's a bit mucky looking. So, dull, bright. So, just so that I know what I did, because I think I definitely want to use this, that was Prussian and permanent rose. I'm going to do that in a painting. So all of this sort of little bit of experimenting you do helps you with your painting that you're going to do. And you need these colours because you've done the working out on here and not made these dull type colours on your painting and then wonder how you're going to get back to them. So look at your tubes, work out if they're warm and cool, have a little go at doing this. So the perfect bright secondary purple is a combination of a warm blue and a cool red. Warm blue because it's closer to purple, and a cool red because that's closer to purple. So that will help you work your colours out. Give it a try, see how you go. It's not something that you do once. Took me a long time for colour theory to sink in. It does become much, much easier the more you try and understand it, because in actual fact, when you go to do your paintings, you can be, you know, pretty free with knowing what those colours are going to do when you choose them from your palette. So have a little go, see how you get on. A colour wheel was a brilliant idea. And if you want to look at colour opposites, somewhere on opposites, all of these, they dull down into the middle. So this is a really good thing to have a look at too. Till next time, bye.